Change begins from within. As easy as it is to look outside of ourselves and want the world to change, the truth is, it never will if we remain the same. This podcast was created for changemakers like you who want more love and connection in your community. Today, you are going to hear stories that will inspire you and also challenge you to be the change. We are going to go deep, my friend. So take a deep breath and settle in. My name is Emilia Tamburini. Welcome to the Circle of Change. Hello, friend. Welcome to the final episode of the fall 2022 season. It is so wonderful to have you here with me as we close out what has been a mind-opening and nourishing season. There were so many nuggets I pulled from these conversations. So today I want to spend some time sitting in that wisdom so we can really pull it into our being just a little bit more. So I do want to remind us of all that we've been through together. And if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. This conversation will give you great insights on conversations that you might want to go back and listen to. I love going back to episodes to re-listen to them because every single time I hear them, I am a new person. And there will often be a new nugget of information available to me that I wasn't ready for before. That's the beauty of our ever-evolving nature. And I'm going to bring that point home in this conversation when I reflect on a movie that I watched over the weekend. The main message that I want to speak to today is the beauty and the power of our authentic voices and creating spaces in our lives to hear them. It is a core tenet of what I do in circle work with my clients and the guests on this show, creating spaces for all voices to be heard. It's a core desire of mine to be a catalyst for that work around the world. And in this moment, I think it's so needed. Each and every one of us have opportunities in our lives to create those spaces for others and for ourselves. And when we do that, everyone heals. It's truly amazing. So that's what we're going to get into today. And as always, I love hearing your reflections. So please send me an email or leave a voice message and let me know what is resonating for you. Let's settle in. So if you are seated, really presence yourself on your chair or presence yourself feeling your feet on the ground and acknowledge that Earth is underneath you, supporting you in all the beautiful ways that Earth can do that. Take a moment to get present with your breath. We have this beautiful mindfulness tool that walks around with us all the time called our breath, this automated service that we so rarely acknowledge and get present with. And this is a moment that we can do that to say, thank you, breath, and feel our belly rise and fall, feeling grateful for keeping us alive, for keeping us experiencing this life, for continuing our evolutionary journey together. The poem I want to read to you today is by Yamilka Noah. I finally recognized myself. I have shed my mourning. I got out of the shell. I am a pearl. No voice imprisons me. I am what I am. Authentic. Thanks, Yamilka. Beautiful, profound, powerful. Lots of deep breaths today. Oh, this podcast, it gets more and more exciting and fulfilling for me. I have been loving reflecting on its evolutionary journey, which has involved me tuning into what lights me up and really asking myself, how do I want to do this? Not how does the industry want to do this, or how does that other podcast person do this, but what is my special way? The design of this podcast has been influenced by other podcast hosts, my circle work, conversations with clients I serve, and really listening to the messages that I am always downloading. And at the end of the day, what I ultimately choose is what lights me up, because really, that's the point of life. It is to find joy. This podcast, it does bring me so much joy, and I feel so grateful that I get an opportunity to do it, have conversations with the beautiful people that I have. And speaking of beautiful conversations, oh my gosh, the fall season. I'm really amazed at the folks that are being attracted to this show, to telling their stories. And I do think if we looked back, that people's stories have evolved as we have been evolving, you and I, in this circle. So this season, we started off with Madeline Shaw. I mean, oh my gosh, need I say more? This woman is amazing. And she really opened my mind and body to a whole new relationship with my menstrual cycle. But this conversation also, not but, and this conversation really gave me permission to disrupt social constructs, which I think is the ask of this time right now. So, Madeline is a beautiful guide for all of us. Susan Burrell was also a guest during episode 48, and she's a spiritually guided coach who helped us to find our moral compass to guide us in this turbulent time, something to come back to and ensure that we are in tune with our values as we do the change making work that we're doing. Episode 50 was Suzanne Venuta, a beautiful TEDx speaker with a gentle heart who reminded us of our power to create radical love and acceptance in the small moments in our lives. Suzanne's message is so powerful, and please go watch her TED Talk if you have not done that yet. We will have all the links to the books and the TED Talks of the speakers that have been with us over the fall in the show notes for this episode. So tap into those if you haven't already. Episode 52 was Kate Sutherland. This was a delicious and warm and inviting conversation that helped me to embrace uncertainty and also to listen to those intuitive nudges that we receive. And doing that with the intention of allowing what is emerging within us to blossom and touch the world. Again, this is a practice for our time that we are ready to embrace and listen to, and Kate is a beautiful guide on that journey. Episode 53, my dear friend and collaborator, Joy Ross, returned to our show to talk about our new project, Soul to Soul. This is, again, a spiritual nudge, and which resulted in a weekly live show. So we are live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific to have a conversation that is intended to bring light to your world as we dive into the issues that changemakers are facing today, from diversity and racism to letting go, to seeking our spiritual relationships and really fostering those, to having fun. Fun is key in this journey. So if you haven't tapped into those conversations yet, you can join us on social media at 11 a.m. Pacific. And then our final guest was last week, episode 54 with Nancy Edwards. Oh, this conversation lit my inner epidemiologist on fire. That fire has not gone out. She had so many beautiful lessons from her nursing adventures in Sierra Leone that I think are so relevant for creating meaningful change in our communities that are not our own. And that doesn't mean our communities need to be in other countries. It can be in our own neighborhoods. It could be with the individual standing in front of you that has a worldview that is not our own. So all the teachings of Nancy's and my conversation I think really can be applied to helping us build connection and create solutions with the folks that are in the room. In our solo intimate conversations, we talked about commitments in episode 45. This was a conversation inspired by work I'm doing with Sean Smith and Michelle Moore. What they really brought home for me is the relationship between making a commitment and my own self-worth. It's a profound conversation, and it's a way that I have not thought about commitments before. Episode 47 was our first Emotions 101, where we are tapping into an emotion that doesn't feel so good and really talking about, well, what is it really and what is it here to teach us? I like this concept because in the work that I do in community, it's our emotions that often stop meaningful conversation because we're a bit terrified of emotions that don't feel good. If we can really learn to look at our emotions through the lens of that they are here as a sign, a teacher, then it becomes a more inviting relationship. Episode 49 was about diversity and inclusion and really presenting you an inviting way to think about this work that will make you want to keep coming back, which I think is very essential in that conversation because it is work we need to continuously come back to. It's not work that we start and stop, but that's often how we interact with it and build relationship with it. But if we can really see diversity and inclusion as an invitation to look at the world through a beautiful lens and see the possibilities that are there for us when we can truly step in and honor our diversity, it makes us kind of want to jump in and get excited about what we could co-create. Episode 51 was the episode where I shared my pitch with you. And that really focused on the theme that we're going to talk about more today, which is getting in touch with our purpose and finding those ways to communicate it to the world in our authentic way. So thanks so much to those who keep asking about that process and how it went. I will find out in a couple of weeks if I was shortlisted, and I will be sure to let you know. If you have signed up for our weekly podcast reminders, I will for sure send an email out through that channel and let you know the results. But thanks so much. I really love your care. So that's the download for the fall season. I'm so curious, like, what are your takeaways, either from what you heard here or in your own experience of the fall season and what showed up for you in your life? I would love to hear from you. So send me an email, send me a voicemail, and let me know. The theme that is really sticking out for me from this season is the power of using our voice to communicate our message to those who need to hear it in our own authentic way. Now, the caveat here is that this message might be so strong for me because of a movie that I watched this weekend. And I'm going to share that story with you because I think there are a few gems in that experience. I think too that this really is just the message for me in this moment. And I know we dove into it a little bit in episode 51. So this is an ongoing dialogue here. So this weekend I rewatched A Star is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. When I finished watching the movie, I felt drawn to Google interviews with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga to get more of the backstory of its creation. And then I just started binge watching all of these interviews, which were quite fascinating because they themselves showed up very authentically and none of the interviews or the responses were canned. So it really was an in-depth exploration of what, inspired Bradley to bring this movie to life, the way in which he wanted to do it, his intentionality and how he created it over the length of period that he did, the actors he brought in, et cetera, et cetera. So this is something notable because if you know me, you know I am not a stargazer. Like I don't follow Hollywood or gossip or the royal family. But what I do follow and what I'm drawn into is authenticity. And there was something in the rewatching of this movie that drew me in and I wanted to dig deeper. Now, I first watched A Star is Born in 2018 or 2019, whenever it first came out. At this part in my life, like this was pre-cancer, and my life was pretty much a shit show. I was in a job that I was not very happy in. I was grieving a relationship I had just come out of. I was grieving other heartbreaking things that were going on in my family, and I was really depressed. So when A Star is Born came out, I went to the theaters and I watched it. And honestly, I didn't have much of an emotional connection to it at all. But afterwards, that soundtrack became my cathartic therapy. Like, I played this soundtrack on repeat for weeks afterwards and bawled my eyes out every single time. I was that person driving in the car, like belting out Lady Gaga at the top of my lungs and crying. This time, however, fast forward 3 or 4 years, none of that was present for me. So, like I said at the very beginning, like I'm a new version of myself than I was back then. So today, like this version of Amy Leah watching that movie, I wasn't present to the heartbreak so much. But what I was present to was this very powerful point. You have a message, and people want to hear it in the beautiful, authentic way that you deliver it. Bradley says this to Lady Gaga at least 5 times in various ways. And I don't remember ever hearing that sentence 3 or 4 years ago. But what was also cool is in the interviews that I listened to afterwards, that was actually one of Bradley's goals, was to communicate that message. So, like I said earlier, I'm pretty clear that this message is here for me in this chapter of my life as I begin to step out onto bigger stages, as I begin to invite clients in who are really keen to do transformational work. And as I begin to work my way toward the bigger dream that I hold for myself and my mission in life. So when I heard this message this weekend, oh man, like I was so grateful, really thanking the universe for its divine timing, for sending me what I needed to hear in a way that I needed to hear it or that I could hear it. That's so, so powerful when we can start to recognize those moments and give thanks. My experience is that when you do that, the universe kicks into supersonic speed and starts dishing out the goods. Now, that doesn't mean it starts dishing out like bushels of peaches and dozens of roses. A dish of goods can resemble a pile of crap. And it all comes down to the eyes through which you look at it. And in fact, if you're really ready to hear a message and make a big shift in your life, you are not going to get roses, my friend. It's going to be the pile of crap. All we have to do is train our eyes to see it as the miracle that it is. As much as I know that this message is here for me, I also know that this message is potentially here for you too, based on some of the feedback that I've been receiving over this season and some conversations that I've been having. And again, this message is you have a message. People want to hear it in the beautiful, authentic way that you deliver it. When I say that, I would love to know what comes up for you. Like, is there a chord that gets struck when you hear those words? This could look like so many things, whether you're starting a new career and trying to determine your purpose, or maybe you want to have a conversation with your daughter, but you don't really think she's listening. Often we can get caught up in doing things right or doing things with an intent to change people. We can also do things in a way that society wants us to, or the way our clients want us to, or the way our kids or partners or parents want us to. But often the way that everyone else maybe wants us to be or how we perceive they want us to be means that we're not who we are, and we will likely not interact in a way that is in their best interest at the end of the day. Yes, I do believe it's important to be conscious of who you're speaking to. And if the people know you know them, your message will become a magnet and attract them in. However, what we don't want is to get into a habit of saying what we think they want to hear, or what we think will keep the waters calm, or what we think will make us be liked. That is a trauma induced protective way of being in the world that has led to a lot of harm. And I can say that because I know it very, very well. It is how I live my life for many, many years. And I continue to work with this as a major theme in my life. When you deliver your message in your authentic way to whomever that is, whether it is your daughter, whether it is to a colleague or an audience of 1,000 people, you are both honoring you and you're also honoring others by holding them capable to hear a message that may set them free, even if it pisses them off first. It's a beautiful art to be able to do this. Now, the thing is, and I hear this a lot, we don't have, or it feels like we don't have many spaces that feel safe for us to share ourselves authentically, especially if you look at society and you're really focused in on social media. It might seem extraordinarily scary to share your voice in your authentic way. In some ways, that's true because we've built a whole society on a deep need to protect ourselves. So, judgment and blame and entitlement, these are very common ways of being out there, making it quite uninviting. And in some cases, not safe to share our messages. There is discernment that is required here. This is why I love the circle process. I believe that the ways of being that we are practicing in circle are a path for us to come back to older, more ancient ways of being together that truly honor that everyone is a knowledge keeper. When we sit in circle, everyone has an opportunity to share their wisdom. And friend, it is brilliant what emerges. The speaker almost always amazes themselves at what emerges from their mouth, and the others marvel at what they learn about themselves in the process of listening. This happens because there's no cross-talking, there's no defending, there's no advice giving or coaching. We simply allow people the opportunity to be themselves and trust that they have the wisdom within them. They just need the space and the time to hear it emerge. Now, I think that theme actually gets pulled out quite well in our episode 52 with Kate Sutherland, but all of our guests in this season touch on this theme in some way. Here's the thing: when we hold our stories back because of shame, guilt, feeling like an imposter, or our own trauma experiences that tell us we don't have a voice worth listening to, we rob others from seeing their own possibilities and solutions, and we rob ourselves from the divine wisdom that is within us. I learned that the hard way and continue to learn that the hard way. This was especially true for my intimate relationships, and today it shows up when I'm planning speaking engagements or working with clients or contractors. In my past relationships, I often held back what I wanted to say because I feared the response. And underneath that, I didn't hold the people capable of being able to handle the message and felt that I needed to caretake them. I mean, this is codependent 101. Now, I also didn't have the nonviolent communication skills back then or truly understand what I was feeling or why. So the whole process was confusing and painful. But what I learned through my own self-work, through therapy and coaching and practicing is that I really was doing everyone a disservice when I didn't be me, when I didn't say what was true for me in a loving way. It always resulted in lack of trust, never finding a solution, and ultimately a broken relationship. What was key, and what is key for me now to keep in mind, is that when I do speak my truth in the various settings, I first get clear on what is my intention for speaking, what is my intention for making this decision, and then to release attachment to others' emotional responses. It's so easy for us to take on that responsibility because most of us were told that we were responsible for other people's feelings. It's ingrained in our bodies to not want to ruffle feathers or to people please. I mean, it really is a survival mechanism that still comes in handy in dangerous situations. But for the everyday finding your purpose and having meaningful conversations type of stuff, it's not serving us. One thing that really helped me in this journey is to find the spaces in my life to get to know myself more, to understand what I was feeling, and to speak what was true for me in a way that did not cause harm. That began with therapists and coaches, but it has evolved to close friends and circles that hold the space for me. And always, it's included finding the time to be with my own thoughts through writing or meditation or walking in nature. So, as we break in this shoulder season and prepare ourselves to come into the winter season, I want to plant some seeds with you to set an intention to find this space for you, whether it's that one friend who listens intently, or a circle that you can join, or carving out that space in your own day to journal or meditate or walk in the trees and simply hear what is in you. I want to invite you to find that space. Winter is all about hibernation. This is a very scary and painful season for many. And in the darkness, there are so many stars waiting to guide us. So the more that we hone these practices and get comfortable with hanging out with our own thoughts, with that wisdom that is within us, and gather people around us that will hold space for that, the more relaxed we can be at this time of year. So the questions I'll leave you with are, what are your practices and who are your people? What can you set up or set an intention for as you prepare for this winter to begin settling into deeper relationship with your inner wisdom? I have an exciting new opportunity being birthed right now that will be launching in the new year, and it falls into this area of surrounding ourselves with evolving change makers and bringing more joy into our lives. I'm super excited about it because I have been waiting for that next offer. And on a quiet morning, it came to me. So that's all I'm going to say today. But know that when we return in the winter, I'll have more information for you. Speaking of winter, oh my gosh, my friend, you are going to be blown away by the guests that we have coming your way. And I want to give you a teaser. So we'll start with this conversation with three amazing change makers who join us for an epic conversation on mental wellness of first responders and the beautiful work that these police officers are doing to transform a very traumatized system with mindfulness and meditation. This is an intimate conversation where we really get an insider's look at how trauma shows up in some of our systems and organizations and what it takes to break through those barriers. And in a separate conversation, actually multiple conversations, wait for it, Sean Smith and Michelle Moore. Yes, that's right. If you've been tuning into this season, you know that these two humans have had a tremendous impact on my life, and they are out there in massive ways, creating waves of change. It's a true honor to get to speak with them and bring their wisdom to you in personal and profound ways. These conversations are not to be missed. So we'll be introducing you to these two souls over the next few months to get you ready for those conversations. But I know that you're going to be transformed by tuning in. This is the next evolution of this show, my friend. These are the sorts of conversations that become available with your continuous listening and donation support. If you have not already, please head to humconsulting.ca/donate and contribute to growing our reach. We cannot do this work without your support. There are so many options to donate. You can donate monthly, annually, or a one-time gift. We appreciate every single cent and so much gratitude to you if you've already become a Circle of Change supporter. We love you dearly. And of course, you can show your support and help us grow by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. Speaking of reviews, here is one from NovaBus09. Intelligent, thoughtful, and inspiring. After having listened to several Circle of Change podcasts, I am very impressed with the consistently meaningful topics. Change is the only constant, but as humans, we tend to create a lot of fear around change. Amy Leah and her guests inspire me with stories of struggle, courage, awakening, vulnerability, and moving forward with greater purpose. Don't ever stop sharing your gift. Oh, I love that, NovaBus09. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts. All right, Changemaker, thank you so much for being here with me on this evolutionary journey. As you enter into the holiday season, I wish you the space to ground yourself and tune into your wisdom. I wish you self-compassion when you don't show up as your fully authentic self. I wish you delicious food, connection, and of course, joy. Remember, what is most important over this period is you, your well-being. Without that, there is nothing. So please take care of you, and I will see you on December 22nd. Ciao. I'm now passing the talking piece to you. If you feel called to put your voice in the circle, please head to humconsulting.ca/podcast and share your story there. I cannot wait to hear what has come up for you as you have listened to what has been shared here today. I wish you love and joy beyond your wildest imagination. Thank you so much for being here in the Circle of Change. I also want to express my gratitude to the following peeps. Circle of Change is recorded on the ʷəŋən territories, and I am so grateful to live on this land. Our opening and closing music was created by the talented E-Roll Beats. You can find his creations at erollbeats.com. And special thanks to my coach, Mary Chan of Organized Sound Productions, for bringing this podcast to life. Until next time, ciao.